of the Disability Visibility podcast at USF. I'm Liz Kiesak, the director of the USF Humanities Institute, and I'm so happy to be joined today by Theresa Gallo. Theresa, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. So I thought we would start by maybe just introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about your major, and then why you wanted to be on the podcast today.
Okay. Well, I'm an anthropology major. I focus on archaeology. So it's instead of the study of present culture, it's the study of past culture. And avocation is really important to me.
Yeah.
It's important to me because if the people who have a voice can't use it, then it's my responsibility who does have a voice, who feels like I can help myself and other people like myself, or even not the same as me.
Awesome. And you're getting ready to graduate, I heard, yes?
Yes.
That is very exciting. Congratulations. That's a huge milestone.
Thank you so much.
So I know you had told me that you wanted to talk a little bit about your specific disability and what it was that you wanted to let people know.
So I have dyslexia. And I also have dysgraphia and dyscalculia.
Okay.
So sometimes I wonder why I'm in school with those three disabilities. And the biggest thing that I feel people don't understand about it is that it's not that I can't read. It's not that I can't write. It's not that I can't do math. It's that these things are incredibly difficult for me on different bases.
So I've heard of dyslexia before, but I suspect, if I haven't heard of the others, and I know probably some of our listeners haven't either, could you tell us a little bit about the other two things that you mentioned?
So dyslexia is not obviously, because some people don't know this. It's a reading disorder and disability. For some people, it has the stereotypical, you read backwards or you see letters backwards. For some people, the letters jump around. For others, they fly across the page. For me, the best way that I like to explain it is that I'm looking at another language, even though I grew up with the English language.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then there is the times where it likes to float around and move around, and you just don't understand the words. Dysgraphia is basically when you have problems putting words to paper.
Okay.
So I'm a very articulate person. I can explain what I mean, explain what I want to say, and can convey during conversations.
Right.
I do not sound the same way when I write.
Interesting. Okay. That makes sense.
I do not sound at all the same way when I write. A lot of times dyslexia is used as an umbrella term for both dysgraphia and dyscalculia. When you have, sometimes it's referred to as like number blindness. You just switch numbers.
Okay.
Like if you were to give me a phone number, if I were to recite it back to you, I might switch, the 6 and the 5, or the 5 and the 6, or, the last number I heard was the 0. So I stick that someplace because I heard it.
Got ya. Okay. Yeah, that is really helpful, the way you sort of, describe those things, as distinct sort of processes. So, could you tell us a little bit about what the last couple of years have been like at USF? What it's been like to be a college student navigating the academic world with dyslexia?
It was extremely frustrating.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah.
because I don't have a physical disability. I don't
Hmm.
look like I have a disability. You hand that paper to someone,
Hmm.
and the thought process is, you don't look like you need it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Have you found that different faculty members respond differently, or is it a pretty uniform, like, dismissal of it?
So I am incredibly lucky
Hmm.
being an anthropology major.
Hmm.
Advocacy is our whole thing,
Hmm.
regardless if it's disability or race or ethnicity. We're very, we like to try to understand where the other people come from.
Hmm.
So I was really lucky that in my major, I never had open problems with people not understanding my dyslexia.
Hmm.
I even found a few people who have dyslexia within the department. And one of the doctoral students I'm extraordinarily close to.
Oh, that's
And
great.
she told me a lot of different ways on how to work with my dyslexia instead of against it.
Oh, that's super helpful.
It is.
And I've done a lot of different interviews, and it seems like one of the things that everybody, tends to bring up is how wonderful it is when they find a support network.
It
Um,
is.
yeah, so.
I I have a wonderful friend who helped me that I found through the anthropology department. I have professors who will reword tests for me. I
Hmm.
have people who will help me go over my papers to make sure that they are legible and the right words that I'm trying to convey are there.
Oh, that's great.
Um, my my best friend actually, who graduated last year,
Mhm.
helps me fix my papers because I don't know
Awesome.
how to.
We all need an editor.
we
Like,
all
we
need
all
that.
need that person.
We all need that person. So I am incredibly lucky that I have a wonderful, wonderful support group that honestly I know like my own merit. I got through school with me, but I wouldn't have done it without them.
Mm,
I just wouldn't have been able to.
yeah. Are there things that you think USF could do differently to better support students, either who have disabilities in general, or maybe for you specifically, like you said, a disability that's not physical or not apparent? Are there things you wish USF did differently to maybe help train teachers or?
Absolutely. I think one thing for everyone is getting out and understanding what a disability is, what it means to have a disability. That sometimes it's not the grit of a person that allows you to get over a disability.
Mhm.
Sometimes you can't. That when you tell someone with dyslexia or dysgraphia or ADHD, which is at times considered a disability,
Mhm.
um, you can't just tell them to read. You can't just tell them to write or
Yeah.
focus because it's the same mentality as telling someone in that wheelchair, just walk. And I absolutely think that a lot of it is just understanding what a disability is, having accessible ramps for everyone, making sure the elevators work just as well in the Marshall Center as they work in any other building, even the ones we don't think about.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. I've gotten a chance to talk with so many different students, and I think everybody has sort of been of the consensus that we as a USF community can do better, can do much, much better.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that our Office of Student Accessibility Services, I'm going to get to chat with some folks from there next week. And I suspect some of what we're going to talk about is how they're trying to make those changes, and then what challenges they're encountering, whether that's financially, whether that's infrastructure, what that is that might be making that process slower than we would want.
Yeah.
Because I think in an email with them, I think I read that they have about 2,500 students registered through SAS,
Yeah.
which in a campus as large as ours does not seem like it's anywhere close to the right number.
No. I mean, I know a lot of students who do have some sort of thing that they would go under.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes they're so frustrated from other experiences, whether it's USF or a community college or high school even, that they
Sure.
just don't want to go through the hassle. And at times, standing there being frustrated, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
Like, there are times where I feel that I've been helped through them, but there are also times where I feel like they just made the situation worse.
Yeah. Is is the paperwork side of it really difficult? Another student had mentioned that just obtaining the paperwork that she needed was an exhaustive process.
So for me, I don't remember it being that bad.
Okay.
However, I had the accommodations ready to go from
Okay.
community college, and they were all up to date. So I can see where if you took that break between high school and perhaps USF and you're starting out as a freshman and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, I have a disability, whether it's physical, I don't like to use mental, but invisible
Mm-hmm.
disability, or anything like that, I can see where that would be incredibly hard because if you have a learning disability, like say you have dyslexia or you have another one, you have to go to a psychologist to get
Mm-hmm.
tested again. Now, I've been dyslexic since we found out about it at the age of like 10, I believe.
Okay.
That that status is not changing for me.
Right. Right.
Not growing out of it.
Yeah.
Some people do. I think really people just figure out what works for them and it doesn't bother them as much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I never grew out of it. I'm always going to have dyslexia.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's never going to change. And this mentality that it might, because I remember having anxiety, being like, oh my God, what if I don't have dyslexia? Like, what if they
Mm.
find out that I don't have it? And then I realized, like, that's silly. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm always going to have it. Like, it's not a test you do and you either pass or you don't.
Oh, that is an extra stress. Oh my goodness.
And the thing is that, like, I can absolutely imagine going through that process alone, not
Yeah.
understanding that, and that you just have anxiety.
Yeah.
And the thing is that if you're in a wheelchair or you have some other disability where maybe it's more physical, you can go to the doctor and be like, hey, I need these physical accommodations. Can you fill this out?
Right.
But still that anxiety that maybe the doctor won't do it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. So like I can absolutely understand where that paperwork's daunting. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have this fear that for some reason someone's going to tell you no, and it's so much easier just to struggle and perhaps drop out.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes a tremendous amount of sense. Is there anything else you definitely want to make sure we talk about, or do you feel like we covered things?
I also want to point out that not only is it about getting other people to understand
Mm-hmm.
whatever disability it is, it's partially a journey with yourself. I didn't understand what I'm allowed to do and not do. Like, I didn't
Okay.
understand what advocating for myself was. And I
Okay.
do think that a big thing that could help students coming in is understanding advocacy for themselves, what it means to them, whether or not they're comfortable disclosing their disability. If they're
Mm-hmm.
not, how do they advocate for themselves without saying whatever it is? And I understand not everyone's like me.
Yeah.
I have dyslexia. Whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're not comfortable with that, that's perfectly fine.
Right.
But you still have to know how to advocate for yourself because as much as the Department of Accessibilities wants to help you, they can only help you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I think one of the first steps is having the people with whatever disability it is understand and figure out how to help themselves because no one teaches you that.
Right.
No one helps you understand that. That's a struggle that you have to deal with from point A to point B. That's stuff
Do
I'm
you
still
have,
struggling with.
yeah, I was gonna say, do you have any like suggestions for people who are maybe learning this act of self-advocacy?
So, first off, my advice is be patient with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Just always be patient with yourself. You'll understand what you need the best.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest thing is when a professor looks at your accommodation letter and says, what can I do to help you? What helps you the most? Because you're not used to being asked that. And it changes from semester to semester. Once you figure out what works one semester, for me, the next semester, everything changed. Everything went out
Interesting.
the window. Sometimes being read a textbook would be helpful. Sometimes a note taker would be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the note taker wasn't helpful at all.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the smart pen was the saving grace that semester, and other times I barely touched it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So be patient. And it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
And learn as much as you can about what you have because if you learn about it, if you understand it, then you can also figure out how it affects you and ways to deal with that. And you can also explain it better to other people, your needs.
Wow. I think that's fantastic advice. Yeah. And, I think everybody learning to trust yourself and advocate for what you need is a really difficult thing. And I suspect trying to navigate the university system, which is always difficult, but having to navigate with an invisible disability that people don't always understand has got to be an extra challenge.
It's not always the easiest thing, but I got through it.
Yeah.
Other people can get through it.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, Theresa, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and sharing your wonderful insight and your personal history. And I really, really appreciate your time. And congratulations on graduating here in about another month.
Thank you. And it was amazing talking to you and everyone listening.
Excellent. Thank you. And so to our listeners, please join us for our next episode of Disability Visibility Podcast at USF. Thank you.